The Supreme Court has halted a runoff presidential election scheduled for Tuesday. The delay is due to pending investigations over alleged corruption in the Electoral Commission. The two frontrunners, former football star George Weah and the current Vice President Joseph Boakai, are due to face off. Neither achieved the required majority in the first round of voting. However, the third-placed candidate, Charles Boakai, has filed a complaint over what he terms widespread irregularities during the poll. Liberia's Chief Justice has ruled that the National Elections Commission cannot conduct the polls until it has been cleared of all allegations.
The NEC is stopped and prohibited from conducting a runoff election until the complaint filed by the petitioners is investigated by the NEC and, if need be, the appropriate appeal process to the Supreme Court of Liberia is availed of and the matter is decided by the Supreme Court. Given the critical nature of the complaint, subject of these proceedings, and its implication on the governance of the nation, the NEC is directed to give urgent attention to the expeditious hearing and determination thereof. It is so ordered.
Well, that is the Liberian Supreme Court's decision. Well, let's get more on this latest development now. CGTN's Deji Badmus is joining me live from Lagos in Nigeria. Deji, first, the ruling, it is clear that the hands of the National Elections Commission are tied. Are there other options for a repeat poll to be held?
Well, Beatrice, it's difficult to say the hands of the Electoral Commission, their hands are tied, and I'll explain. It's very simple. Now, Article 83 of the Liberian Constitution provides for how this process is done. So basically, with the ruling of the Supreme Court, what we expect the National Electoral Commission now to do is to investigate the claim made by the Liberty Party candidate, Charles Boakai now. So what the National Electoral Commission would do is to now investigate these allegations and find out if the allegations are true. If they are true, of course, it means it will have to act on those allegations by probably calling for a rerun of the election. And if they are not true, of course, it would have to rule. Now, what is going to happen is whatever the Electoral Commission decides, Charles Boakai could still actually appeal. So this case could still go back to the Supreme Court for a final decision. We just have to wait and see what happens. What we know is that now that the Supreme Court has ruled this way, the Electoral Commission has 30 days within which it has to give a ruling now on the outcome of its investigation. It has to rule somehow whether these allegations are true or false, or whether it's dismissing them. And of course, it's up to Charles Boakai to what happens after that. So I think this is still going to go back to the Supreme Court, Beatrice.
Well, Deji, are there any timelines for this process to be done away with as per the Liberian Constitution?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's absolutely clear. For instance, the Constitution provides that usually 15 days after the election, if there's any complaint at all, a particular candidate has to file, which Charles Boakai has actually done, and he filed his complaint and to the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission did not investigate that complaint. That's the reason why he had to go to the Supreme Court, and now the Supreme Court has asked the Electoral Commission to investigate the complaints. The Electoral Commission now has 30 days within which to investigate the complaints, and it must give its decision after 30 days. And 7 days after that, Charles Boakai now would have to appeal. If he is not satisfied with the ruling or with whatever decision now the Electoral Commission reaches at the end of the day, he could take his case to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court would have 7 days within which to give a judgment on the case. Now, if the Supreme Court finds that Charles Boakai's allegations have been proven, it definitely would have to cancel the election and call for a rerun. If not, it would, of course, ask the Electoral Commission to go ahead with the runoff. So, give or take, I think all of this will end, let's just say, give or take, I don't see this going beyond 30 days. Beatrice?
Right, Deji Badmus is joining us there from Lagos on that Liberian election drama. Thank you.